This book is not about quick fixes, hacks, or shortcuts. It's about teaching you how to think in an entirely different way. Once you learn how to do that, you will never be the same again. And in this video, I'm going to teach you exactly how to do that. So let's get into it. So this book is broken down into two parts. Part 1 is about fast thinking, which we can call System 1. And Part 2 of the book is about slow thinking, which we can call System 2. And by understanding how these two systems work, you'll be able to make better decisions in life. Part 1. Thinking fast. This is your limbic system. It's like an autopilot. You don't have to put any effort into it. That's what makes it fast. For example, when you drive a car, there are certain things that you don't have to actively think about. You just do them. You know how to steer the car without even thinking about it. Or when you walk, you don't have to think about putting one foot in front of the other. Your body just does it for you. And these are all examples of System 1 thinking. Your brain is constantly using System 1 to process information so that you can make quick decisions. Most of the time, this works perfectly fine. In fact, sometimes it's necessary to make quick decisions, because if you take too long to decide, then you might miss out on something. For example, if you were playing chess, you wouldn't have time to sit and think about your move for too long. You need to be able to react quickly to what your opponent is doing. Or imagine if you were driving and you had to stop at every intersection to think about whether or not you should go, or turn, or stop. It would take forever to get anywhere. So yeah, System 1 thinking is very useful, but it also has its downsides. For example, we often rely on our intuition to guide us when making decisions. Our intuition is basically our System 1 brain telling us what it thinks we should do. But sometimes our intuition can lead us astray. For example, let's say that you see a tornado and you feel like running away from it. Well, System 1 would tell you to run away from it because it's dangerous. But what if the tornado was headed straight for your house? Would you still run away from it? No, because System 2 would kick in and tell you to take cover because your house is more important than you. So System 2 is basically your logical side that can override System 1. And this is good because it means that we're not just slaves to our emotions. We actually have the ability to control our own behavior. But System 2 is slow. That's why it's called System 2 thinking. It takes effort and concentration to use System 2. That's why you have to actively choose to override your emotions in order to make logical decisions. Now, it's important to note that not all decisions require System 2 thinking. A lot of decisions can be made using System 1, and that's perfectly okay. But when you are dealing with important decisions, you want to make sure that you use System 2 thinking, because that's going to lead to better decisions overall. For example, let's say that you're trying to decide whether or not you should invest in stocks. Well, System 1 thinking would tell you to just go with the flow and follow the market. Sounds nice, right? But System 2 thinking would tell you to do some research and to make a plan based on your financial situation and goals. And ultimately, you'd probably be better off following System 2 in this scenario. Another downside of System 1 thinking is that it can lead to cognitive biases. These are basically mental shortcuts that our brain takes that often lead us to making bad decisions. For example, we often judge the likelihood of something happening based on how easily we can recall examples of it happening in the past. So if someone tries to convince you that airplanes are dangerous, you might be more likely to believe them if they give you vivid examples of airplane crashes that you can easily remember. But statistically, you're much more likely to die in a car accident than in a plane crash. So even though you might think that airplanes are dangerous, the chances of you dying in a plane crash are actually very low. Now here's the thing. You can't completely eliminate cognitive biases. They're just part of how our brain works. But you can become aware of them so that you're less likely to fall victim to them. That's where System 2 comes in. When you're using System 2 thinking, you're more likely to be aware of cognitive biases and therefore less likely to fall victim to them. One way to improve your System 2 thinking is to get more sleep. Sleep helps us to be more rational and less emotional. When we're tired, we're more likely to rely on System 1 thinking and therefore more likely to make bad decisions. So make sure you get enough sleep before making any big decisions. Another way to improve your System 2 thinking is to eat healthy foods. There are certain foods that can actually improve your cognitive function. So eating healthy can help you to think more clearly and make better decisions. And finally, you can improve your System 2 thinking by exercising. Exercise has been shown to improve both your physical and mental health. So if you want to make better decisions, hit the gym. Part 2, Thinking Slow. When you're thinking slowly, you're actually using your prefrontal cortex. This part of the brain is responsible for things like decision-making and problem-solving. It's basically the part of the brain that allows us to be rational and logical. When you're using slow thinking, you're more likely to be aware of cognitive biases, and therefore less likely to fall victim to them. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you're shopping online and you see a shirt that you really like. The price is $50, which is a pretty good deal. But then you see a coupon for 15% off and you can't resist. You click the coupon and you're happy with your purchase. You feel like you got a great deal. But in reality, you didn't really save that much money. The shirt was $42.50. If you had just bought it without the coupon, you would have paid $43.75. So you only saved $1.25 by using the coupon. But because you used slow thinking, you were able to recognize this cognitive bias called framing effects, and you were able to overcome it. Framing effects is basically when the way something is presented to us affects our decisions. In this case, the store was able to frame the 15% coupon as a great deal, which it is, but you were able to see through it and realize that you would actually be better off without it. So yeah, slow thinking is definitely more rational, but it's also more lazy. When we're using system to thinking, we're actually expending mental energy. That's why it feels like hard work. Our prefrontal cortex gets tired. Now this is not a bad thing, just means that we need to be careful when we're using slow thinking. We need to make sure that we're actually using it to improve our thinking, not just making ourselves feel lazy. One way to do this is to set deadlines for ourselves. When we have a deadline, we're more likely to focus on the task at hand and use system to thinking. Another way to do this is to break down complex problems into smaller pieces. When we have a lot of information to process, we're more likely to get overwhelmed and use system one thinking. But if we break the problem down into smaller pieces, we can focus on one piece at a time and use system to thinking to solve each piece individually. And finally, you can improve your slow thinking by taking breaks. Like I said before, our prefrontal cortex gets tired. And when it gets tired, it doesn't work as well. So if you're feeling mentally exhausted, the best thing to do is to take a break and come back to the problem later. When you come back to it, you'll be able to use system to thinking more effectively. In conclusion, these two systems are always working together. They're constantly interacting with each other. That's actually what makes us human. We're not just machines that process information. We're actually able to reflect on our own thinking and make changes to it. So that's what makes us special. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you're now thinking like a philosopher. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.